as some people call me as well, you know, representing Lions Den Fam, you know, business community for Rastafari, you know, because due to all of this criminalization and all this thing, you know, I mean, the only solution is, you know, employment creation. We know that there's not enough jobs for everyone within the community. You know, for everyone who go through the educational system, there's not enough jobs for them in the world. So, you know, common sense show you say, you know, everyone have to really depend on employment creation. And I mean, for the Rastafari community, you know, one of the main thing in our sacrament is the herbs. And also the herbs has also provided a lot of employment for I and spiritual upliftment. And I mean, we all know that the herb is a plant. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, we realize that our rights, you know, your inalienable rights that you're born with as a divine being, you know, with a living soul, you know, has been taken away from I because he who don't know his rights is assumed to have none. So what it is now, from the Rastafari community who face this so-called criminalization and discrimination, you know, and through all these prohibitions, because they have a thing what them call, these words that they use, they say crime. You know, but what caused crime? You know, crime, as Bob Marley says, is because of laws. But you know, what law is it that are we governed by? You know, I mean, we know the laws of nature. You know, gravity, you broke your neck. You know, we know the law of nature, we know the law of life, that we are living flesh and blood. We know even that the UK is a common law jurisdiction, you know, which is, you know, just harm, loss, damage. But we don't really know about these statutes and acts and policies, you know, which the police enforce, you know, upon the community, and these government make statutes that we all act like statues and act in accordance to a law, which I do not know. From the Rastafari perspective, you know, we always stand royal despite the criminalization, you know, because we realize the benefits of the herbs for I. Like, for example, when I was a young child, I suffer from very, very bad asthma. And I mean, you know, despite all the medicine and the inhalers and these things and injection that the medical people who don't want to cure disease anyway impose wasn't good enough to cure I, but it was some herbs cure in the right way within the Rastafari culture, which cure I within a couple of days. So I always knew from a young age that, you know, the more or less the one that they call illiterate, you know, actually know a lot more than the one who gone through the educational system, who's been taught to think a certain way. I mean, the whole Western society is governed by left-sided brain thinking, you know, which is words, and the right side of brain are active, whereby there's nothing spiritual, there's not even understanding of the words. Someone could put cherry upon this bottle and put a poison in it and give it to you and you drink it. And just because the word said cherry. So criminalization, drugs again, what's that? Drugs to me would be anything unnatural. And who is the king of unnatural drugs? Which would be the medical people them. You know, the medical societies, you know, the big industries running their thing. Everything in the medical industry is synthetic. So at the end of the day, we can't understand why you'd call a herb a drug. Can't understand why you'd try to oppress, you know, a group of people who grow herb use it for upliftment, whereby we can we come forward, spread love, peace across the world. I mean, we're not talking about the skunk like the warrior mentioned earlier, which yes, you know, certain damages are going within the community, and drugs are killing people. That have to deal with on a separate issue. But for the plant section of things, we have to keep it natural and never ever give up our rights. And our I and I right as natural people, living soul, this is the only way we can change the so-called runnings of the system, because as you hear all the reasoning, it's a big topic, but it all stems from what? Capitalism. Capitalizing on everything which I and I have. I mean, it started, you know, more or less, it concentrated from the African slave trade, but you know, all of we in a slavery now. You know, it's bounded by these laws, so-called laws, where I don't know about, you know, and forced upon you because you don't know your rights. You know, no one know their rights. No one hold up your human rights as the flesh and blood, divine being. When you clearly see everything wrong, you clearly watch the videos them in YouTube, and we clearly see the manipulation and the control that is happening within the community. But yet still, you know, we're not wise enough to do anything about it. And because we've been trained in a mental way to accept these things, we don't know if we break free from it. But with the Rastafari community who break the rules as set by their society and get criminalized for it, it opened I and I up to a higher realms of overstanding. Because that's why they don't like no one who come from jail or anything, because you've already rebelled against the system. So that's why on every farm you see, do you have a criminal record? Because you can't get into certain aspects or areas of community anymore. So there you go again, no employment. And I mean, so it's a big topic, and I think the key point is to know your rights and stand up for them, you know. And if the country that you're living in, you know, is representing common law, well, common law is what we adhere to. If there's a statute or an act that is imposed upon you which violate your right to live, you know, free as a divine being, a living soul, flesh and blood, you have to know your human rights. And we, from this standpoint, we always stand for our rights, our human rights, our divine rights, even though they take you in their court speaking another language that we don't even know about, legalese, and you unknowingly giving away your rights just by communicating with them, you know. And I mean, we naturally can hear fallacy, like we naturally can hear them trying to take away your rights that you have to give it up freely, you know, to conform within this system. They ask you, do you understand? You know, Rastafari said, no, we don't understand you, we overstand what you are trying to do. The judge is just a man, physical being just like I and I. And furthermore, if he's doing something which is violating other people's rights, he's the wrong man to judge you. And if everyone in this courtroom is judging you and don't know you, what you've been through, your situation in your community, or what you do anything about you, how can they judge you? So, you know, I just wrap it up like that still. You know, laws, crime, race again. You know, you mentioned race. Is it a race on a track? You know, because all words with the ism and schism, all words with a ism is created to create conflict, you know, within these communities. So race and racism, all the words that I use, I do not understand it. All I know is our rights is our rights. Everyone have a right. If you want to grow a plant, it's fine, especially for spiritual reasons. It's your right again, you know. I mean, who is trying to stop you from and decriminalize your natural rights? Them is the people that we have to address just by standing up for our rights, being sovereign, royal, and overstanding yourself. That's it.